There we go. YouTube community, Charles Bradley fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens, and we are here today to talk about Charles Bradley's 2013 album, Victim of Love, released on Daptone Records. Charles Bradley is, in a nutshell, in the easy Spark Notes version of it all, a soul singer. But in a much more deserving and respectful manner, he's a man who's led a hard life, full of true pain and sorrow. And we hear every bit of that in his world-weary voice, with every powerful note he projects. He's an interpreter. He's someone who has done it and lived it. And with every ounce of his being, he puts everything he's got into his performances, his amazing vocal performances. His influences are certainly sewn on his sleeve, but his experiences are his own, and his interpretation is his own. He's more than a soul singer. He's a soul man, if you will. There is a fantastic documentary about him called Soul of America, which chronicles his life and story going up to the release of his first album, No Time for Dreaming, and it's a truly remarkable story about a guy who, saw James Brown as a kid and then left home at 14 and ran away and worked odd jobs all across America. Then eventually he got reconnected with his mom in the 90s. His brother was murdered. He went through some really hard times. And then during this time in the 90s, he became a James Brown impersonator, doing his thing. And then ran into two of the guys from Daptone Records, Tommy Rennick and Bosco Mann. And they kind of took him in and said, hey, maybe we can do something. And then over the next couple of years, compiled some things and eventually put out the first album. And, that first album is a little more autobiographical, a little more focused on the world weariness of, wondering how the earth is going to be and how people are going to get on with each other. This one kind of focuses that split a little bit between love song and the world weary messages. And I like that balance on this one. I definitely really enjoy the first album, but I thought this would be a good introduction to review this one. So let's just get into it. This album is an absolute funky, soulful blast. I love this album. The first song, Strictly Reserved for You, it's got these really groovy bass lines and striking guitar riffs, and then Charles's husky voice comes in and just envelops you and takes you on this ride. He just he soars right in. And you're locked in, you're not going to escape out of this. And the chorus is very sing-along really good back and forth with the background vocals. Just a story about getting away from your environment with the one you love and just, say, hey, everything I've got is for you, and let's just go somewhere and forget the world, and it'll be okay, it'll be okay. And it ends with this really fuzzy guitar outro, and it's easily one of my favorite songs of his. It's just this really uplifting song. The instrumentation is really tight and funky and well executed, and like I said, his vocals are just fantastic on this song. Put the Flame on it, the next song. More soulful, optimistic horns introduce this song. It really creates a sunny day atmosphere vibe. And Charles's really cheery vocals on top of it definitely continue to add to that vibe. Definitely a Motown track for sure, straight up Motown track. There's a bouncing bass that rollicks underneath all this, and these horns really accent the atmosphere of happiness. And I love the call and response, grunt / horn thing that he does, where he'll go, and then the horns will do the same thing. It's very James Brown, but it's very, it's just so cool. It's just so cool. He can get away with it. And it's not oh, he's copying. It's no, he can do it. Let Love Stand a Chance is the next song on side one, and this is a great song. It's a little bit of a more chill vibe compared to the first two, and it's kind of a soulful yearning in his vocals and musically too. It's definitely the slow dance song. You can imagine the disco ball shimmering around. Maybe this guy sitting there on his own, thinking about this girl that's not there, and all he wants to say to her is, "Hey, just let love stand a chance. Give love a chance." But nothing can stop that fire inside him, that feeling that got him to feel that way. Victim of Loving You is the title track, and wow, this is also one of my favorite songs on the album. Fantastic standout track. very sparse instrumentation, and that's so fascinating to hear that, because then you hear his vocals on top of just a guitar and like a little shaker tambourine in the background, and it creates this vibe, this energy, this atmosphere that you're just lost in his vocals. The music is great on its own, but when you hear just his vocals, you're like just blown away by how powerful this guy's voice is and how soulful and charismatic and interesting he can make anything sound. But the fact that he's singing from his heart, it just sounds like, I mean, that's what soul is. It just sounds like soul. Musically, your emotions are out there. These intensely passionate vocals, and he does his screams in the background, and the background vocals on the song are also just as fantastic, playing off his lead vocal. Definitely one of those songs that I would like put on repeat forever, maybe even like a desert island track for me, for sure. It's one of those like always gonna be in rotation kind of songs. Love Bug Blues, number 5 on the album, is it's got this like menacing hornet collective of horns that come in and out throughout the song, and this one really has a lot of the background call and response thing again, this time with female background vocals. It's just this groovy shaker that doesn't let up the whole time, and it's this tale about that dreaded disease, love. He called it the love bug. Dusty Blue and side 1, and this is a really steady but loose kind of thumping, driving song, and there's a lot of horns that convey emotions, and they try to paint this picture. It's an instrumental, so Charles Bradley takes a break during this song, and it has a lot of that 60s bubbly organ stuff, fluttering flutes, and some somber acoustic guitars, and really makes for an interesting track. And when you see him live, they do that. They'll take a break. He'll kind of go off for a second, and they'll do an instrumental, and he'll come back. Confusion, the first song on side 2. I mean, all hell breaks loose on this song. There's sirens, there's cuckoo clocks, there's fuzz bass, and then Charles busts in with confusion. It's this message of, hey, the world's kind of a mess. What are we gonna do? Like, let's figure this thing out here. It's kind of, for me, it's kind of like a part 2 of "The World Is Going Up in Flames," a song from his first album. There's a line, "Who are you gonna trust when the world turns to dust?" Like, we gotta protect what we got here, people. This is a pretty important thing we got. Before, it's more chance of confusion, and there's this rocking guitar solo and horns that can't catch a breath the entire time. Truly an energetic performance from everybody on hand. Where do we go from here? Kind of follows the theme of Confusion. It's definitely his message of love and peace and hope for future generations, and protecting what we have and making sure that what we have doesn't get any more damage than it already is. Number 9 on this album, Crying in the Chapel. Man, I can easily see Smokey Robinson doing a version of this song in his own way, but then, because it's kind of like a quiet type of song musically, and then you can imagine just Smokey's voice kind of like lilting on top of it really sweetly, but then Charles comes in and it's like, holy crap, I'm crying! I can't do it, but he just busts in and you're like, holy moly, like he just completely grabs your attention. I mean, this guy's voice is killer. It is so good. The horns on this track are fantastic. They play all over this song. And they really accentuate little simple bass and guitar lines that are going on underneath it. It's just, you hear his mournful, soulful pain in every bit of his voice on this song. Excellent track. Hurricane is the next song on the album on side 2, and a very early 70s kind of funk soul feel on this one. Story about looking out for your planet. It's about, we're going through a mess, we're going through a rough time, we're going through a storm, we're going through a hurricane. And we gotta take care of what we got. Might be all we have, like I said before. And the last song on the album, Through the Storm, kind of sums up, for me, it sums up side 2. It's this really quiet guitar in the intro, and then, Charles comes in giving thanks to those around him, and for me as a listener, I kind of see it as maybe he's giving thanks to the people in his life that have been there through all the hard times. Maybe he's thanking his fans, maybe he's thanking Daptone, maybe he's thanking, God, just for the fact that he's gone through all these really hard times, and he's still here. So in that sense, when I hear this song, looking back at the album now, looking at side 2, I kind of see side 2 almost as a concept. Whereas side 1 is mostly love songs, and side 2 is mostly a little autobiographical, a little biographical, and a little world-weary and future thinking. So side 2 definitely has this whole, he started off confused and he's like, well, where do I go from here? And then he was crying, thinking about, what am I going to do? And then he went through the storm, he went through a hurricane, he was going through this awful time, then he got out of it at the end. He got through the storm. He made it. So, here's the back cover. Yeah, this album, overall, for me, it just feels like it was the perfect follow-up to No Time for Dreaming. It was, at this point, Charles Bradley and his band, which is the Menahan Street Band, but as he calls them, when they're his band, he calls them the Extraordinaires. They had been touring nonstop, and they were just developing this musical chemistry that was really, really strong and potent. It really shines on this album. It just shows how much they gelled together as a unit. The songwriting is strong, the playing is inspired and full of character, and Charles seems to have found his groove with these guys, and they kind of just play off each other. They know what they're going to do, and they're excited by what might happen. There's a lot more freedom and comfort and range in his voice. I feel like he, even though he's a fantastic singer, I feel like he's always growing and always getting better, which is something really fascinating and fun to watch in his development. Seeing as, he's in his 60s, just putting out his first few records now, it's kind of cool to see where he's going to go. There's definitely textures on this album that are new, whereas they definitely follow some of the vibes and genres and feels from the first album, but this album also features some grittier textures that the first one doesn't have. It also features a lot of really, really happy-sounding, smile-inducing sounds, directly inspired, like with the horn sections, and also Charles' voice accenting all of those too. It's nice to see him doing his love songs, and it's also nice to see him continuing his vibe of world-weary songs and, staying with his peace and love mentality and really hoping and wanting the best for Earth and humanity and just the planet itself. It really sounds like Charles is starting to hit his stride with this album, and it's just going to keep going up and up and up from here. He does have a newer album out now called Changes. But yeah, this album for me was really kind of a spark in his career. He's the screaming eagle of soul, man. And, I really feel like that eagle is soaring towards brighter and bigger and happier skies with each concert they play, each album they put out, each single they put out. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. I absolutely adore this album. So let me show you what the record looks like on the Dunham label. One of the cool things about Dunham labels is that they're always a little different. And this is a single, so I have a single for Strictly Reserved for You, back with Let Love Stand a Chance. Yeah, fantastic album. I really can't say enough of this. If you love soul music, if you love heartfelt, really impassioned singing, and really tight, funky, soulful playing, I mean, you cannot go wrong with this album. It's absolutely fantastic. 10 out of 10, highly recommend it. So that's it. That's all I got. I just love this album. Charles Bradley, Victim of Love, on Daptone Records. My name is Giggens. This has been Album Reviews. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright, bye.